Hello, good evening, everyone. So here am I today again, Mushfiq Hassan, Education US Outreach Coordinator and one of the advisors. So today, this is our fourth series of Cloud Fives tried across the USA, and we have a very interesting lineup today. We're gonna bring a very special guest. I'm gonna talk about her later, but at the beginning, let's see the amazing video Advive has created and has to tell what is it all about. Let's see it. Again, amazing. So thank you, Advice, again for organizing the whole thing. Now I'm gonna welcome our special guest. I know you all are so bored to see me for last consecutive 4 days, so I'm not gonna be there all by myself today. Excuse me. Today we have with us one of my advisor colleague from Indonesia. Excuse me. Her name is Fina Atlas. Can we have Fina in our show, please?
Hello, Mushfiq. Thank you for
Hi,
having
Fina.
me.
Hi, Fina. So this is Fina. She's an advisor from Education US Indonesia. Indonesia Education is Jakarta. Me and Fina, we had our training last year at the United States, and that's when we got to know each other. But this is a perfect example of how we all collaborate and how we all share the same mission, same views, and we work with the same bunch of students that is either you or in Jakarta or Indonesia or Bangladesh, doesn't matter. So, Fina, how does it feel to be here today?
I feel so special. Thank you so much for choosing me out of other advisors, Education USA all over the world. So I feel so special. So thank you so much for having me, Mushfiq. So happy to be here.
Yeah, exactly. So, when I was planning with the organizer of the EdVibe, so when we are planning the differentiation, I thought this is the perfect platform for me to collaborate with another country and the advisor. And Fina's name came at the very beginning. So I knocked Fina, and it was within nanosecond she said yes. She didn't even listen to the topic or what. When I said let's collaborate, she said yes, and that's her positive attitude, and that's why I reached out to her. Just to let you know, it's 11 p.m. there at Jakarta, so you can imagine how late she has been working, and she has a full-fledged working day today. She was in the train just and half an hour ago, and I was so nervous that whether you'll be able to reach home or not, and I was in panic. So anyway, let's start the session, Fina. Today, our session topic is extracurricular activities, or how the students should engage themselves during this pandemic period, online courses or physical courses or physical activities. What do you have to say about the whole idea of extracurricular activity? How does it work in Indonesia?
So, of course, everyone's has been hearing about MOOC, right? And it
Yes.
started like a couple of years back, and then we didn't really hear about it much. But I think from some of the articles that I started reading since the pandemic started, I think massive open online courses started to be a thing again because now we are stuck
Mm-hmm.
at home. So I
Mm-hmm.
really urge everyone, or even, I mean, I've always like planned to, like to take some of the courses, although I have not really had the time to do it because I don't know about you, Mushfiq, but since the pandemic started, I'm not like not doing any advising. It's like the contrary. Like I still do an advising
Exactly.
session, right? And I feel like now that we are going digital like this, I can, like before the pandemic, like my center was in Jakarta, is in Jakarta, right? So obviously it's only people who live in the Jakarta area would come to my center. But then now I
Exactly.
really see the positive of we are doing this digital. I mean, by all means, I can actually take students from Bangladesh to do an advising with me. Why not, right? Because we are the same under
Exactly
Education
doing that.
USA.
You're doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Like with Education USA in Indonesia, especially in my center, because since we are going digital, I mean, I do a lot of events. Like I cover topics like essay writing, how to the importance of letters of recommendation. And because this is like digital is open for public, we actually receive a lot of not a lot, but like a number of students actually from other countries outside Indonesia, because our events are quite interactive, so we allow people to like chat with us and like say where they're from. And so we have students from like Russia, from like Kazakhstan. So it's actually really interesting. But yeah, no, I mean, back to like talking about like extracurricular, I now that I'm doing a lot of advising session with like high school kids, I also actually ask them a lot, like what have you guys been doing? And so now that they are in the preparation mode for U.S. universities, they are, starting to get busy a little bit, but then of course they're looking for like some activities. And yeah, MOOC is like one of the good places to start. Or if you are also in the process of like applying to U.S. universities, you definitely probably want to like do some preparation like SAT. Although the good news is, because of the pandemic, we actually see a lot of universities in the US that
Getting
will
waiver.
waive
Yeah.
SAT. Yeah, but just in case you want to take or you need to take SAT, there are a lot of online resources out there. I just mentioned to you, Mushfiq, before the event, if you've heard about Magush, because
Mm-hmm.
there are actually a lot of my students use Magush. So it's like an
Mm-hmm.
online task prep. Some of my advisees are using it for free, or they can also subscribe. They have like some um, um, like payment plans or something like that. And a lot of them are basically saying that it's really a good start to like learn a lot of things, like learn SAT. I don't know, like in Bangladesh, if you guys use English as a second language.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in Indonesia it's not the case. So in bahasa, like Indonesian language is always our first language, so some of us are not really familiar with like English. So a lot of students have to like learn English as well. And so Magush has like, I think they cover like TOEFL. They also cover like SAT. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the students who are here, our topic is the extracurricular activities today. So like I have mentioned in many of the sessions already in last few days, that you need to think that this pandemic is not going to last forever, right? And you might be applying next year, you might be applying for spring 2022 or full 2021. And when the things are normal, the things will be normal, and then you'll have to get into the loop again of how you're presenting your ECA, SAT, ACT. So ECA is a thing. You don't just start doing it now, right? ECA is a thing probably you've been doing for last few years. So your extracurricular activities for US application is really important. It's one of the elements we always preaching to the student, right? Why? Because US schools love students who have passion for something besides study, right?
Yeah.
I remember,
Yeah.
Fina, when I first went to US for my training, and I was in California in one of the schools, and it was the time when the when the fall session's just starting. So I was
Mm.
there, and we were in the campus ground, and we saw that all the students are spread out throughout the campus. They're sitting with a table, two students, one student, having a small banner, and they're recruiting students. And then I asked the university rep that what is it, and they said that they're recruiting new kids. So they're all clubs. It was
Yeah.
Japanese learning clubs,
Yeah.
karate club, computer science club, language club, and there was a club called Zombie club. So they were recruiting every student's new kids. They're moving around, they're roaming around, they're seeing what are the clubs. So as you can see, the schools are encouraging you to get engaged with things which are beside your study, because they don't want you to think only in the box. They want you to think
Yeah.
out of the box. They want to experience a whole new system in US, what you've been doing in your country. So when we think of ECA, you might be only thinking of Olympiads and award-winning things, right? But you need to remember ECA is more than that. Extracurricular
Yeah.
activities is just not only science club or Olympiads or math competition. It can be anything you're passionate about, right? Like if you love traveling, if you love gardening, if you love cooking, music, dance, anything and everything you should present in your ECA, right? You might not have awards, you might not have ways to tell the institution where you're applying about your ECA. You need to remember that you have the essay, you have
Oh
your
yeah.
place to write about your ECA, right? Do you want to add something, Fina, in
Oh
regards to
yeah,
this?
yeah, no, absolutely. I think essay plays like a really huge role when it comes to applying to U.S. universities, because I completely agree what you just said, Mushfiq, because based on your, you were in California and you actually you were in a campus and you see a lot of like these kids,
Right, exactly.
very active. They're not just like go to class and go home, do their homework, and that's it. Because this is also something that you guys want to like familiarize yourself with when it comes to studying in the US. Definitely, it's not just about you getting a good degree, but it's like the whole experience. I happen to did my bachelor degree in also in the US. Yes, I did my degree
Hmm.
from the US, but then it's not just like about the degree. Like now coming back home, when people ask me about like my, like how was it, being in the US, I rarely talk about like my grade or whatever, but it's more like just the whole experience being on campus. Exactly what you just said. The universities in the US will definitely teach you to think outside the box, because I don't know if you guys know, I'm pretty sure Mushfiq has shared this, but like for bachelor's degree in the US, you are allowed to be having no majors for the first 2 years, right? And I
Exactly,
think, and I
exactly.
think, yeah, and I think this is what makes the US is really unique compared to other countries, like in Europe, for example. Like you have to know immediately what the major that you want to do, and then you have to stick with that major for the rest of your college years. In the US, it's completely different. They allow you for the first 2 years to basically just pick one major, and then you find that you don't like it, you can basically change it to another major for the first 2 years. They allow you to do that because, again, yeah, they want you to think outside the box. They want you, for example, if you want to be an engineer at the end, they want you to be able to know how to speak, like do public speaking. That's why they are going to ask you to take some communication classes. Probably like in other countries, they won't like care about you taking some communication class, right? And vice versa. Like if you are in a social science major, they want you at the end of the day to at least know like a basic, I don't know, like science or like math major. So yeah, so you definitely want to prepare yourself so that when it's the time you being in the US, it's not like something shocking, but from us, from Education USA, that, oh yeah, I remember the advisors told me about this. So that when you get there, you'll be like, yeah, I remember all this. Like I need to be active. You can start something. You can, either be part of a club, or maybe you can even start a club. Why not? They allow you to
Exactly,
do that, right?
exactly.
So yeah, yeah.
now that Fina, you have brought the fact that you were a alumni, USA alumni. Where did you study? Share with them.
Yeah, so I started at a community college in
Wow,
Washington State.
amazing, even better.
Yeah. Yeah. Because community, I don't know in Bangladesh, is it like a big thing, Mushfiq, for community college?
It
Because
was.
in Indonesia it
Let me
is.
tell you something. Let me tell you
Sure.
something. It wasn't a thing few years back, like 3 4 years back. We weren't even pushing, but then State Department started pushing us about to tell about
Yeah.
spread the news of community college,
Yes.
and we were
Yes.
so happy because there are so many institutions. Like I've been telling that Notre Dame is an institution where all the brilliant kids come,
Yeah.
not necessarily all the rich kids. So it's a perfect fit for them because they are talented. They want to go and pursue their study in the US, and then there is a conflict of interest with the money thing. So it's an amazing. So last few years, our number has picked really, really high. It
Wow.
has gone high for community colleges. So it's even better when you're talking about community college. And uh,
Yes.
let's talk about it. Just share your experience. How did you
Sure.
do it?
Yeah, so I was still in high school, my last year of high school, right? And so I started a little bit late, so don't do that. So now if you're still in I don't know how many years of high school in Bangladesh, but if you're still in,
12,
like
12.
2 years. Oh, okay, so it's similar. So if you're still in like in grade
Exactly.
11, about to go to
Yeah.
grade 12, you definitely want to start now if you want to study at a 4-year university like Notre Dame, or like some other public universities in the US. But I started late, right? So I started like when I was about to graduate. So basically the universities, all the deadlines were like already passed, and so I heard about community college because they're still open. And then like in community college, the the requirements are not as many as if you want to go straight to 4-year university. Basically they just ask you for your TOEFL and your high school transcript, and that's it. It's different than if you want to start at a 4-year university, because you have to prepare like SAT, you need to write a good essay, you need to have like letters of recommendation from your teacher, high school transcripts and TOEFL and all that. So I started at community college in Washington State called Green River. It's okay for me to mention the campus, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. Of
called
course, of course.
yeah, it's called Green River Community College. Now they changed it to Green River College because they have like I think 2 majors for bachelor's degree now. Um, and then after 2 years in community college, I transferred to a University of Maryland in College Park. It's just 20 minutes away from Washington D.C. I just need like a different scenery because I started at a Washington State all the way in the West Coast. Like whenever there was like spring break, I would like visit like California, Las Vegas, all those area on the West Coast. And then I feel like 2 years.
Fancy you.
Oh no, just like something like not like expensive or anything. Just like
I can
going.
totally relate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I feel like 2 years being on the West Coast, it's enough for me, and it's time for me to see the East Coast part of the US. So, like, again, guys, if you really want to study in the US, like, also use this time, because you're going to think about it. You're going to spend the next 4 or 5 years in the United States. Use that time to, of course, you're going to study hard, but then also explore the country, right? Meet a lot of people, meet a lot of different kind of Americans. So yeah, so I decided to just like move to East Coast. And I happened to pick University of Maryland, and it's just like the best choice for me. Although of course, community colleges, for example, is not for everyone. Just similar as starting off at a 4-year university is not for not for everyone. So it really depends what you're looking for. So for example, like if you are looking for, especially your parents, if they're looking for a more affordable ways to fund your studies in the US, community college is definitely a good choice. And then the curriculum are definitely still the same, like I mentioned earlier. Yeah, like the first 2 years you are allowed to just explore as many majors as possible. So be it in community college or in like 2 years in a 4 years university, they're still allow you to just explore as many majors as possible. So I think this is like a really good programs. Like there's this transfer pathway programs where you do 2 years in a community college, and then you just do the last 2 years in a university. So you still end up 4 years, and then you're getting your degree.
Right. That's, I mean, we have when I did the first session with them, I talked about community college, how the students really can discover and explore community college, because it's an absolutely wonderful addition to the whole US education system, how it's affordable and how it allows you to go to an university. And Fina is a perfect example that she started from a community college, and then she went to a big, huge University of Maryland. Is
Yeah.
huge. They have such big programs. And so tell me more, Fina. When you were in University of Maryland, what sort of thing you did beside your study? What they in based on the students can prepare from now?
Right. So here's the thing. So when I started at community college, right, because community college, in terms of like the size of the campus, is way smaller than
Exactly.
universities. And there are so many different type of
Exactly.
public, or there are so many different universities in the US. We got public, private, we got liberal arts. So I happened to choose University of
Exactly.
Maryland, where it's one of the largest public universities in the US, and also one of the reasons why I
Yes.
picked University of Maryland is because they are located near the Washington D.C. and because they are one of the leading research universities. A lot of the U.S. governments conducted research at the university, making the tuition is a little bit lower compared to other public universities. So it's a win-win situation for me. I started a community college, which is already started as way more affordable than like universities, and then I transferred to also a university where it doesn't cost as a lot as other like private universities, for example. And so when I get to University of Maryland, I imagine myself if I started at a University of Maryland, not with a community college, I would find the whole experience, at least for the first maybe 6 months.
Overwhelming.
Exactly, that's the word I'm about to use.
I
Overwhelming,
know. I
because
know.
yeah, because it's
Yeah.
just like so huge. So remember,
So
Moshe,
vast.
when
Exactly.
we did the level 2 training, we went to what, Michigan State University, and
Exactly.
it's also like huge campus. So
So
starting off
huge.
at a community college is a really good kind of like transition. So having living in the US for 2 years at like not so big institution is enough for me. So when I transferred to University of Maryland, I'm kind of like saying to myself, okay, I can do this. I'm still like overwhelmed with just like the size of the campus. So we're talking about like from my community college would probably have just less than 5,000 students to University of Maryland, where they have over 50,000 students. And so when I get there, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't have anybody from Indonesia. So the first thing that I did was I went to the international office and then met one of the advisors there, and then I asked him, "Is there any Indonesians here?" And then he said, "Yes, there are a couple of Indonesian people, but they are not allowed to share their information because it's confidential," they said. And so he told me, it's really funny because there are usually some student organization, like Mushfiq, you mentioned earlier about like Japanese student organization and some other country student organization. And then he said, but you know what? There is no Indonesian student organization. And then he suggested me to, why don't you make one? So then some other Indonesians at this university. So yeah, to answer your question, Mushfiq, that's basically what I did beside like,
Wow.
go to class. So I started the first Indonesian student organization at the University of Maryland. So and this is also definitely something that a lot of you guys can also do, not just like necessarily starting like a student organization. Probably you already have it in your university, in the university, like Bangladesh student organization, for example. But then there are actually a lot of other organizations that you can start if they don't have already. So just again, yeah, be very active, because the fact that the university is so big, you are missing a lot of things if you're just, go to class, go back home, do your homework, and then not interact with like the community of the university. So
Right, wonderful. I cannot get enough of this. I cannot get enough of your experience sharing. So we had a student from one of the institution yesterday. I asked the same question to him. I asked the same, that what measure you had in your mind and what you ended up doing. Were you in the same track or did you change it? Could you? What happened?
oh, yeah, no, that is definitely something that quite funny actually, because I think I had too much fun getting all the experience
The
being in the US.
experience,
So
yeah.
yeah, so when I started to the US, I know I kind of like wanted to do business, but then I never realized that business majors is actually, they have like some other sub majors that you need to choose, like
Mm.
accounting, international business, and all of that, and then I was like, wait, I don't know, I thought business is just business, right? So I was planning to do accounting for the first 2 years when I was still in community college, but then again, the beauty of education, US education system, right? I don't have to stick with accounting if I don't like it. And then when I transferred to University of Maryland, I took some of like economics classes, and then I remember taking like economic history of economic history or something like, so kind of like talking about like economic back in the days. And then I took some international economics, and I started to kind of like the economics related type of program, and then I actually ended up with an economic majors. However, after I graduate, I don't want to go back home right away, right? And again, another beauty of U.S. education system is we have what we call OPT, or optional practical
Yes.
training. I'm pretty sure Mushfiq has mentioned about this as well. So yeah, I told myself, you know what, I want to do OPT, and then because I'm located in just 20 minutes away from Washington D.C., so there are actually a lot of like nonprofit, NGO type of institutions there. And because economics major is very broad, I basically can I'm basically allowed to take as a lot of like different programs. And then the one institution, one NGO that I happened to join at the time, just right after graduating, was this one organization focusing on education, not so much on economic
Oh,
side, but just like
right,
specific in
right.
education. And I just fell in love with it, and that's why I joined Education USA. So
And the
yes,
result is here.
that's why I'm here. So yes, my bachelor's degree, which is economics, has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. But then again, like it's really good if you guys now who are watching this already know what you want to do, what major that you want to take. Good, like that's already good. But for some of you who are still kind of like, I don't know what I want to major in,
Exactly.
that's totally okay. And I mean, yes, my major
Exactly.
is not similar with what I'm doing today, but I'm doing wonderful. I think I love my job. I love helping
Exactly.
people to, study in the US. So yeah.
So there are so many takeaways from the just last 5 minutes Fina's talk. I want to elaborate a bit. When Fina said that it was overwhelming for her when she moved to University of uh, Maryland,
Meryl.
you guys need to think that, yeah, it's up to your personality, right? One thing we do when we talk about the university selection, we say that a lot of decision will depend on what kind of person you are. You and only you know that. Whether you get overwhelmed within a class student of 100, it depends on you, right? I have seen so many students coming to me saying that I want a classroom of 30 students, and because I know that I won't survive if it's more than that, and it's absolutely fine. So if you know that,
Yeah.
if you know that it's you that you need special attention from the teacher. You need to discuss about the class lecture after your class to the TA or to the professor. You need to see what university has that kind of model. And that's another beauty of US institution, that they will tell you everything in their website. If it's not there, you can always knock them, the admission officer, and find out what sort of characteristic is this institution, right? If you think that no, I cannot survive in an institution like this, then just don't choose. uh, Fina mentioned about community college. Community college, those who do not know about community college, it's an associate degree provider institution. It's new to us South Asian student, but it's a 200 years old concept for US schools, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
uh, community college serve for the particular community, right? And they have many subjects where you can get experience with, and then you can move forward with those subjects, like Fina was mentioning, choosing the major. So what happens, you go and start you do your first and second year with more reasonable costing than a 4-year institution. You finished it, you go and do your third and fourth year. There are so many community colleges in the US where you do not even have to think about the associate degree, right? Because for us, for a South Asian student, it's not much of use of that associate degree,
Absolutely.
because
Yep.
uh, when you come back to your country, if you ever come back to your country with that community college associate degree, you're not going to do anything. You cannot do anything with that degree. So you'll have to always target for your bachelor's degree. So there are so many institutes, so many community college in the US where you can, from the very beginning, you can start thinking of transferring. There is a program called tag transfer, where it specialized on the transfer, and you can go and work with your admission officer from the very beginning, and they will be focused on your transfer. So suppose you already know which institution you want to go, you can take courses according to their structure and their planning, and you can just move ahead with your transfer program, right? I can see there are a few questions. Maybe we will take one or two questions. Which ECS value more, international recognized or every other community works on different topics? Fina, do you want to give an insight? Then I can give insight too.
The way I look at it, because I think for US universities, they're going to value any kind of extracurricular because I think Moshik mentioned this earlier that like when it comes to applying to US universities, right, it's not just a matter of your grades, but they really value of anything that you are doing outside classroom. So be it, some activities that you're doing at school, or although probably now that we are doing everything from home, you will want to do everything digitally. But yeah, no, the way I look at it, doesn't have to be, like internationally recognized. So and then also do it just because you want to. I see a lot of kids in
Exactly.
Jakarta where they're trying too hard, like they want to study in the US so
Mm-hmm.
bad that to the point where, I know that I have to do this ECA, I'm just gonna do it just because. And I told them it's gonna waste your time because you're not going to enjoy it. Your last year of high school will be miserable and all that. So again, just do it because you want to. So, and there are actually a lot of things that you can do. Start with your hobby. Like, what is it that you really like, right? So, yeah. How about you, Mushfiq?
Mm-hmm. Same. I will echo Fina. Absolutely yes. I mean, I think the scenario is almost same here. So what happens? Don't take the pressure of presenting yourself the way which you aren't, right? Uh, Passion is something which should be driven by your inner instinct, inner hobbies, and it always reflects, right? So please be sure when you are choosing your ECA. Yes, it always helps if it's an internationally recognized one. However, it's perfectly all right if it's not. And US schools love the students if they are doing some voluntary work, they are serving the community, you're doing something for another people. They always appreciate these qualities. So if you think that you didn't get much of opportunities to be a part of an international led ECA, it's absolutely all right. Okay, so you don't have to think about that. I think there was another. By the way, one of the spectator uh, appreciated our session. He said that it was wonderful session. I'd like to thank you. Thank you so much for attending the session and listening whatever we are saying. Mr. Haider Ali, fantastic episode. Thank you, Haider Bhai. Thank you so much for joining me and Fina and listening to us. I think one of the girls she asked that is it necessary for my ECA to be similar with my major? I want to major in business, but I'm very passionate about painting and writing. Can I include those in my application? Uh,
Absolutely.
Sharita, I hope that I believe you are an undergrad prospective student. So it's absolutely all right if you love painting and writing. And business, if you want to study business, if you already figured out your major, you are one of the lucky person. I'm sure most of the people do not know what they want to do in their life or what major they want to choose, and it will change eventually. But for undergrad students, you are not limited. You are not restricted to choose your ECA. You can do anything and everything you love, and but you need to have a positive way. You need to have a way that you are telling the institution about it. That's important part, right? So try to show the ECA in a way that institution wants to know about it more. They feel driven to learn about it, right? Yeah. So be creative when you are showing your ECA. Like say you say that you do painting. So why don't you send some of your picture of your painting, and why don't you send some of your writing samples, and they would know what kind of things you are at. And um, you won't know that they might be thinking that you are an addition to their institution. From this perspective, they might not have a lot of students who are good at painting or they love writing beside their study, and that ECA might help you to get into the school, right? So never think that if you're an undergrad student it has to be related to your subject, because most of the time it's not. When you are doing your high school, you study so many things, and they expect that US schools expect that you're not sure about your major. They know that you're not sure about your major, and they know that even if you're sure, there is a high possibility that it will change. All right. So Fina, do you want to add up, or what's your take into this?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Mushfiq said, and I read some of the comments are pretty much, like Sarita and Terrence here also ask about, like you want to major in one thing, but then you are also, planning or already have some other things outside that, outside from the major that you want to take, and is that okay? Totally okay, because like Mushfiq mentioned earlier, and I think I mentioned that earlier as well, that when it comes to the US, it's all about. So here what I'm going to tell you guys. After you're done with your bachelor's degree from the US, you're going to be a really different person. Of course, like in a good way, because the university will teach you how to really make you think outside the box. So if you want to study business and then you just, focus on everything just business, it's boring for the US standard. You know what I mean? So, but if you want to study business, but then you are also interested in doing art, that's like amazing, right? Like it's a total opposite, two different interests. And the US really loves that. Again, this may be
Mhm.
something that you probably won't see it outside the US, because usually, like, especially like in Europe, they are very like going to like one major only and then that's it. But like in the US, if you have like this other interest outside what is the major that you want to take, it's good, it's amazing. So yeah. keep doing what you guys
All
are
right.
doing, even though it's different
Exactly.
from the major. Yeah.
Exactly. Uh, I debated in my university. Can we have the next question? I debated in my university, but I'm from pure science subject, and I want to do my MS in pure science subject. How can I get benefited from this scenario? That's tricky. For masters and PhD student, that's when the life
Yeah.
gets boring and serious, right? And it's
Yes.
more
Yes.
related to your academic. So, what we usually suggest our master's students that yes, you can always tell about your ECA to the institution. However, if you can relate your ECA to your future level of study, that would be amazing. So I'm not sure how you're gonna relate debating about with pure science. However, you can always tell them that if you had done any debating based on any scientific matter or science related thing, and how you did your research on those things, and how did you get some inspiration from the research you have done, and how it has shaped up into your life decision skills, right? So for what I say to my students, when master students, when they ask that their ECA is not really in line with their subjects, I always tell them to find out some way if it has any uh, I would say any decision making matter, any decision making influence in your matter, then you should try to link it. But if you're a master student and you just can sing well or dance well, I'm afraid that's not gonna be what university want to know from you. What you want to say, Fina?
Yeah, it's I actually read this question, and I think I missed that. Terrence is actually asking about master's degree. I thought it's bachelor's degree. My
Yeah,
bad. But
exactly.
yeah, no, agree with Mushfiq. When it comes to a master's degree and PhD, that's when it gets serious. As in, like what you've done prior to you wanting to do masters. If you can, you want to kind of like make it linear. Um, but yeah, I would say even if you have a lot of experience in debating, I think it's still good. You can definitely put that in your resume, and I think the university will value that for sure. So don't be
Hmm.
afraid that now you have had a lot of debating activities, and then you think, oh, the university is not gonna like see my activities. Don't worry about it, they
Exactly.
will still value that. But then yeah, absolutely, you want to, like, especially when it comes to the essay writing, you definitely want to tell like the reason, like, because they're going to ask you a statement of purpose, right? That's like the equivalent of their essay for master's degree. And
Exactly.
then so they really want to know, what do you want to use your degree for? So you need to start
Exactly.
thinking about, okay, I want to take pure science, but then for what? Like,
Hmm.
what kind of impact that I'm gonna bring when I'm going back to Bangladesh? So things are getting definitely really serious when it comes to master's degree. But yeah.
Same. Exactly. And also, if you're a master's degree student, you really don't need to think about your ECS. It's for master's student, it's more like what research you have done, if you have done any field job related experience, if you have, try to show those things. If you have ECA, it's amazing. But if you do not have ECA, it's perfectly all right. I think we had another question. Can we? Yeah. Hi, Hamim. How can I effectively show my ECA? So, Hamim, I would ask if you can later on share with us what's your ECS, then maybe we can give insights that how you can effectively show your ECA, because there are hundreds of ways. I need to know what's your ECA, right? Uh, the scenario is really tricky. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, all right. So we would go with some share screen now. The students who you cannot do standardized tests now do not have opportunities to do a lot of voluntary work because you are stuck at home. Now is the time you should utilize your time productively, right? Say you want to apply in fall 2021, and in Bangladesh SAT are not starting till January. So you might be missing some application deadline, right? So what will replace your standardized test score? And this is the time you should really look into online courses option, right? So I got a few of sites for you, so that just to starting point where you can go and explore. I know you guys are more experienced when it comes to online thing. I think that a screen is already being shared, right? Fina, you can see the screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Right. So if you see, the first site is edx.org. Adib was talking about yesterday how he enjoys going to this site. So if you just see, I was also experienced. There are so many online courses on business and thing. If you see that successful negotiation, Stanford introduction, food and health, and then writing in the science, brand management, introduction to negotiation, fast step Korean. Okay, I'm not sure, you won't be interested. Learning how to learn powerful mental tools, learning to teach online, game theory. I mean, just see the variety of courses here. I think I mentioned 6 or 7, and I'm sure there are so many varieties if you go through the link. And if the game theory, it's a course offered by the University of British Columbia. Learning of teach online, it's a Sydney course. So it's not only restricted to US, it's a site. Design and interpretation of clinical trials, John Hopkins University is offering that, right? Management of fashion and luxury companies, University of Bocconi. So it's an European French university. Social psychology, Wesleyan University. Private equity and venture capital, again, it's a university name I cannot pronounce. So there are so many universities that you can see. And if you go just writing and sciences, see, there are it's offered by Stanford. So there might be some fees with associated, there might be free courses, but trust me, this will be worth taking these courses. And you can always talk about this in your personal statement, admission essay, or if you think that you have done enough online courses, you can just write a different note about the whole online courses. But again, like Fina mentioned, just don't do it to make your application package heavier, right? Do which makes you interested into this, and also elaborate why you took this course and what you learned from it. So another one, these are all Coursera courses, by the way. This is Coursera, and this is subject edX. So if you go to the edX courses, business and management, you see that there are so many courses like financial fundamental, project management, marketing, leadership and entrepreneur, supply chain management, learn Six Sigma, yellow belt, so many strategic management. So if you are want to study business, you can do so many things from these things, right? So that's what I wanted to share with you. With this is only 2 sites I talked about, but there are so many online sites you can explore and see that what are in the stake, right? So thank you, Advive. You can stop the screen sharing now. If I believe we do not have any more question. Uh, okay. Will extracurricular activities help in getting scholarship? Do you want to say something about this, Pina? I'm sure you'd love
Sure,
to.
yeah. Sure, yeah. It's actually I would say that would play a huge role apart
Exactly.
from essay. So if you want to apply for a scholarship provided by the universities, usually they will ask you a separate essay, and then the deadline usually will be a little bit earlier than the regular deadline. So you want to pay attention to that as well. But no, absolutely. If you can also, like have some extracurricular, that would be also great. Um, However, I think there are a couple of questions here that I'm reading asking about how to show this extracurricular, because some universities, they may not have rooms for applicants to kind of, like upload any proof that you have done this extracurricular. But if there is no such thing for the universities for you to upload if you have done this and that, the other way that you can show to them would be on your essay. Although it's not just like
Exactly.
simply saying, it's not just simply saying that, hey, my name is Fina, look at me, I'm doing really well in high school and I'm doing this and that, please accept me. But then kind of like making it into like a really interesting story of that activities that makes you you. That's why Mushfiq and I, we keep saying that do this ECAs based on your interest, not just because you want to impress the university, so that when you show it to them through your essay, you're writing it beautifully, just like as if, yeah, I love doing this ECA and I'm telling you that I love doing this, instead of, oh yeah, I just have to do it just because, so.
Exactly. So there is a question: how can I effectively show my ECS? My ECS activities are football, dance, and two community. Oh yes, you are a jackpot, man! If you are playing football and you're doing dance, that's quite a combination.
That's amazing, yeah.
So bravo, and also community service to top up. Mahin, these are amazing ECS, and like we've been saying, if you had any competition, if you did any competition for dance or football, it's amazing. If not, please make sure that you have an entire portion of essay dedicated for your ECA. And you'd love to know that so many US schools have sports scholarships. So try to find out
Mhm.
which are the schools providing sports scholarship, and then highlight more of football, maybe less of dance in that essay writing when you're writing to that school. It's actually what subject you want to study. Say you want to study some performance art, then you should write more about dancing, right? You want to do some social entrepreneurship or social uh, courses, and then you can write about community service. But these are all amazing ECA, and make sure that the schools are listening to it. Do something when you are playing next time. Take ask ask your friends to take some pictures when you are doing a dance show. Do a small clip of maybe a minute, and when you are sending your application, attach them with your application, send them the pictures, and make them interesting, make the institution to have some more curiosity about your ECS, so that they get back to you and they ask about it, right? Another student asked that he has 2 or 3 activities. Like Fina mentioned, just do not pile up your ECA just because you think that you need to tell them about it, right? If they're effective, if you think that you have enough involvement in your ECA, and it helped to build up it helped you to build up you as a person, then talk about it. For an example, ever since the lockdown started, I always had a passion about gardening, right? And ever since the lockdown started, I'm going crazy for gardening. All of my friends in Instagram and Facebook, they are seeing like 10 pictures every day. But say, for example, say I have to start a master's course, and I want to start master's course in say agriculture or something related to gardening. So this
Yeah.
will be such a wonderful example of my ECA, because I can directly relate how my passion has led me to do and choose a subject in my master's, right? And I will definitely, when I'm applying, I'll definitely maybe pick 20 of my pictures where uh, I can show how I'm growing vegetable, how I'm getting inspired by a flower, or how I'm mixing the soil, how I'm getting the weeds out of my plant, right? So you have to be really strategic. See, I'm talking about my passion. Gardening is my passion, yet I'm trying to showing the different aspect of my gardening skills, right? When you are showing your ECA, you should absolutely do that. Community service. If you're talking about community service, just don't say that I donated winter clothes among the poor people. Say, why did you, at the first, why did you choose this thing, right? What made you take this wonderful initiative? And when it was done, what did you learn from it? ECA is something, especially when it's volunteering and community service, you just don't say that I did this. You should try to say what you learned from it and what initiated you this ECA, right? That's how ECA becomes effective. That's how you stand out from the crowd, right? I cannot believe we talked 55 minutes already. All right, we
I know.
will take a few more. It's almost midnight at Fina's place. I shouldn't be
No
dragging her.
worries.
Okay. Sir and ma'am, for the last few years, I've been debating, painting, writing contents, doing Olympiads, voluntary work, organizing events, etc., etc. So now at this stage, I'm a little bit confused if I should stop concentrating on all these activities and focus on only a few topics that is related to major I'm interested. Kindly let me know. Thank. Wonderful question, Fina. You tell, then I'll say.
Absolutely. So, Tabia, is really good question. My question to you would be, why are you doing all this, right? Do you
Exactly.
love do you love doing all this? And if the answer is yes, keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yes.
Why should you stop, right? So, but if again, if you're doing it just because, oh, because I need to study in the US, that's why I need to do a lot of things, then yes, I would say probably now you would kind of like switch it to do something that you just love, like what Mushfiq shared. He loves gardening now. So yeah, it's in the why. Like if you love, like, why are you doing all this? If you love doing it, keep doing it.
Same. It's amazing how we all advisors think in the same pace and same way. So I was thinking of the same thing that Tabia. It's amazing. I mean, how you're doing so many things all together. And I know Tabia. She's a Vikarnisa student. Vikarnisa again is like Notre Dame. It's hugely competitive and so much pressure. So one thing, you were in HSC. You were in the last year 2 years of your high school. When you are doing ECA, you also need to make sure that must not affect your result. All right. As an undergrad student, your academic result are one of the highest priorities when the schools are looking at you. So when you are doing so many ECAs, please make sure that it's not uh, it's not taking your focus from your study and getting you passionate more into doing so many ECAs. But again, if you are able to manage so many things beside an amazing student, kudos to you. All wonderful, you are doing so many things. But one thing I would say for the undergrad student, do not think about major and do your ECA. You don't need to do it at all. Do what you love doing and it will shape up your major. It's the other way around actually. This is a time for experiment. Do what you love to do, and that now you're thinking maybe you will be an engineering or a doctor. However, you might be ending up being a graphic designer or content writer. There are so many alternative and new career options these days that you cannot even think. And you are class, if you apply at 2021, you are class of 2025. You don't even know what's
Mhm.
the world gonna be at 2025. So stop thinking about should I do ECA depending on my major. It's the other way around. Should I take major depending my ECA, depending on my passion. And with this note, I'm going to conclude. All right. And the question, I thought that's the last question. Recently, I found an organi. All right. There are a few more questions. I founded an organization about climate action by myself. We are doing many kind of environmental research, survey, spreading social awareness. How much effective? Oh, amazing! I'm sure
Yeah.
you are seeing the girl who are the angry girl. I say I forgot her name. The angry girl who is all over the internet. She is saying all sort of environmental stuff to all the leaders in the whole world, and she raised a huge fund for the South Asia's for flooding quite a few days back. So yes, I mean, environmental things, it's a huge thing now, and you are doing a wonderful things by researching and spending and investing your time. Please make sure that you keep a record of what you are doing, and write some notes when you are doing your ECA. Write some notes that what challenges you faced and what output you get, so that when you're writing about it later on, you know the small things, right? I think we'll take the last question. uh, uh, I have no Olympic. I answered this question. There was another question from a girl. I want to address that, and I want to finish this session. Yeah, I tutored a few kids for 3 years. Can I include that in my application? Also, I couldn't take the ACT due to pandemic. It's gonna lessen my chance at scholarship. Wonderful question, Sharita. Yes, please include your teaching experiences. Even though we keep saying it for master's students who are applying for TA, but you need to remember, it's very Fina, I don't know what's about your country, but in our country it's very common that being a high school student, we teach the junior ones.
Wow.
Private tutoring is a very common thing in our culture. Like I
Wow.
remember when I was doing my high school, and when I was in my early level of university, I used to teach 3 kids, and that will earn me my pocket money and traveling monies, right? So it's a very common thing that we teach. So Sarita, yes, if you're doing that, you need to remember that it might be very easy, available, and common in your country, but not necessarily in all the countries. So the US schools might be fascinated about the idea that being a high school student, you're already teaching another kids, and it will add up in your application. And about the sad thing in pandemic, uh, um, like I said, it's not going to affect if you are applying for 2021, because most of the countries cannot even do the SAT testing, right? So absolutely all right, but you need to find ways to use your time productively. If you have some schools in your mind, ask them what else they will be expecting if you're not sitting for ACT, right, Fina? If you do want to add up.
No, it's all like what you just said. I completely agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like I said, it's an amazing. I was talking to Fina. You only imagine we didn't have a structure of this session, that what you're gonna talk about. And Fina said, "Look, if we start talking, we'll end up talking an hour," and it's absolutely happened. And I think this will be the most interesting show for me, an amazing session for me, where we didn't even have the count of our timing. And uh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the students who join and listen to us. And a special thanks to Fina. I would like to say that she had a small operation yesterday, and even that didn't stop her to join this session, working till 10 p.m., coming with a train, coming to home, and just logging in. Thank you so much, Fina. It means so much to me and Ed Vibe and all the students of our country. Thank you so much. Just
Yeah,
ending
Mushfiq.
line.
Yeah, so I can't wait until I share this experience to my team, because
Yes, yes,
this is my first time being invited by the other Education USA outside Indonesia, and this is the first time for me to get to, at least just very little, like just reading some of these questions from people from Bangladesh. And I love all these questions. Like I never, because I'm based in Indonesia, right? So all I know is Indonesian people go to the US. I never pay attention before that. Oh yeah, of course there are other people outside the Indonesia who are going to the US. And then I get to see this and I love this. So like it's mutual. Mushfiq, I feel so special you invited me, so thank you so much. If you ever
thank you
want
so
to
much.
have me again in the future, don't hesitate. I know it's late, but I love
Don't
doing this.
spoil
And
me. Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, no, I look forward for having this again with you in the future. So yeah, and good
thank you,
luck to
Fina.
all of
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank you so much. With this, thanks to Ed Vibe, thanks to the students, thanks to Fina, we end our session today. Good night, stay safe. We see you tomorrow again. Thank you so much.